Right, regular viewers of Media Snack will know that at ID Comms here we are advisors to many of the world's leading marketers on media and advertising issues.
That's right, but it's the influence of strategic media thinking that I think is so powerful now.
Yeah.
You get that right and you combine that with a really strong integrated creative idea, then the execution is often brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Tide ad.
Yep, it's a Tide ad. Right, we are building an action plan for media in 2018, and this week we're going to look at talent, media talent. So this is part of a series of Media Snacks that we're dedicating to help you build an action plan for media.
Yeah.
And each week we're going to look at what you could be doing now, next, and in the future. And this week we continue with media talent.
That's right, so what do we mean by talent? Well, talent's all about identifying the right resource and the right process, following a structure that maximizes the delivery of your kind of media investment.
Yeah.
Okay, and we look at that in two ways. We look about that internally, so how do you structure your talent internally?
As a marketer.
As a marketer,
Yeah.
and then externally, how do you then deploy the right agency resource to get the most out of your media investment?
Yeah, yeah. And it's an increasingly important thing, talent.
Yeah.
The research that we conducted last year, 90% of the marketers that we surveyed said that identifying, organising and retaining talent was going to be key to driving stronger marketing performance.
That's right, and 2/3 of CEOs interviewed by the Harvard Business Review identified talent as the biggest challenge facing their organisations.
Yeah. Okay, so let's dig into that and let's start creating an action plan for media talent. So what do we have to do now to start, and if we start internally?
Yeah, well, the first thing is to understand the process, the end-to-end process. Map it out from how you use data, the insights, all the way through to execution and reporting.
Mm-hmm.
And once you've begun to identify exactly what the process is, then you can identify who should be doing what and the value that they add to that process internally.
Yeah, good. And then externally, obviously, we keep saying you should demand the talent that you need from your external agencies and other partners. So, ask for talent is important, but also you want to avoid duplication. We hear from a lot of marketers that they end up with duplicated resource across lots of different agencies, particularly when it comes to strategy and planning. You find that your media, your creative, your digital, your PR agencies have all got kind of strategists that somehow compete with each other. So getting really clear scopes of work, understand the scopes of work you've got with your external partners, and make it really clear then what talent you want.
Yeah.
Ask for it, so demand it, put it in the scope, and importantly, pay for it.
Yeah. So next, from an internal perspective, once you've understood the process and thin sliced it, it's about identifying where the gaps are and understanding whether you want to bring those capabilities internally to fill those gaps, or whether you're happy to have an external partner compensate for them.
Yeah.
Both are valid solutions, but you need to understand the entire process in order to be able to make those decisions.
Yeah, indeed. And then externally, next, really what you want to be doing is updating the scope of work and also the terms on which you pay the agency. So you've updated the scope to demand, request from the agency, the talent that's going to be required to fulfill your scope, and update the terms so that you're paying paying for the talent that you need. And then also to apply some level of evaluation, because just setting it up correctly at the beginning is one thing, but then also evaluating that the agency is delivering the talent that you've asked for. Both in terms of quality and the time commitments on an ongoing basis is going to be really important.
Absolutely. Okay, looking to the future. And this is, I think, the bit that is most exciting. It's about having a vision, having an understanding as to where your organisation is from a media perspective going to be going in the next 3 years.
Yeah.
So being able to anticipate the market to a degree and at least have a strategy to enable your organisation to evolve and adapt to the changing dynamics of the marketplace, to continue to drive continuous improvement in media.
Yeah, and specifically, there's been lots of reports recently of large companies saying that long term they're going to take more control of media decisions, planning and buying, and maybe even in-housing some operations. So that's the kind of blueprint for talent that marketers need to be aware of, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to the external, your job as a marketer then, when thinking of long term about how to nurture agency talent, is actually to think of it like that. Take some responsibility for it. It's not something that just exists in a contract with the agency, but take some responsibility for nurturing the talent. The best examples we see are marketers who feel it's their responsibility to continually inspire and engage the agency side talent. So much so, and we've seen some great examples of brands who, for example, in their contract they'll pay an agency an annual bonus for great work, but they specify that bonus has to go to the team. Yeah. It doesn't just disappear into kind of a shareholder pot. That's a really good, it's a really good behaviour. We've heard many other examples. Beer companies sending crates of beer to the team. So it shows that they care, and it's a good way of inspiring. So think what you can do long term to keep your agency team really engaged and excited about your brands. Okay, so every week we will provide you with one of these lovely cheat sheets. You can download them in the link below, which goes into a bit more detail about what we've talked about today. But 2018 is the year for action. Let's make media better.
Let us know how you get on.
Right, good week 4.
Tide.
Yes.
The US detergent brand, who, not just in our opinion, but I think universally, won the battle of the Super Bowl ads. Now, the reason that I like that is because this is a detergent brand, right? Probably in the lowest interest category of all, up against the big beers, the big colas, the big car brands.
And that's a big brief, right? Own the Super Bowl if you're a washing powder.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it nailed it, right? I mean, it was amazing. So the insight, the concept that they went behind, that the brand managers themselves and the marketeers actually bought into, which was incredibly brave of them. And the way that they executed it was kind of flawless.
Yeah.
So watch it if you haven't seen it, but it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. And so, I mean, as you said, it's being regarded as probably the best of the Super Bowl ads in most of the polls that have been going on. I think it's not just that. I think it's the best Super Bowl ad ever made. And I think it's possibly the best ad ever made.
That's a huge
Which is a big bet. And the reason being, and if you haven't seen it, watch it. And maybe of those of us kind of practitioners, particularly from a media perspective, you know what goes into making these things work. And as you said, if you're going to win and you want to go in the Super Bowl, you've got to beat some of the world's best ever advertising anyway. But the thing that was different about this is it understood the format. And it was a brilliant insight, a killer insight, a very brave client, as you say, in a low interest category who's gone all in on one idea, executed it beautifully, but done so, used the format to their advantage in a way that I don't think has been done before in the Super Bowl, or probably, I don't think an ad has ever been created for context as well as this ever. So I think it's the best ad ever made. And also, the other thing that's got us quite excited about that ad was that this comes just over a year since Tide is a P&G brand, right? So you'll know that a year ago, the head of marketing at P&G globally, Mark Pritchard, stood up and demanded of the industry to reduce the crap, reduce wastage, so that he could invest more on creativity. And I think this was an amazing celebration, really, if you believe that those things are linked, that this is what great creativity looks like when brands invest properly in that. It comes a week after this, or 2 weeks after the CFO of P&G on an earnings call said that they're prepared to pay for the best creative talent. I think it signifies a business that's really investing, and we're glad to see that it's producing something amazing.
Yeah, I agree. So Tide, good week. Who's had a bad week then?
Bad week. I mean, it's somewhat related to this. I think if you're in the detergent category, if you're in any category that competes with Tide, you're about to have a really bad year, I think, because this will, again, complete prediction based on nothing really, other than the fact that it's an amazing piece of advertising. If it works, which it should do, it will drive significant market share for Tide, and it'll be fascinating to look over the coming weeks and months to see what impact that has on a business. Because if it has an impact on a business, shows that advertising works.
That's right.
If there is no change in Tide's market share in the next 6 months, then we should just all give up and go home, because I don't know what else you could possibly do.
Let's monitor it.
Yeah,
Let's see.
we will do. Right, before we go, question of the week. So when it comes to media talent, where are you right now?
Now, next, or future.
Excellent. Okay, so that's your media action plan for this week. Thank you very much for watching.
See you next week.
Hello. Regular view. No, that looks very good. We're building an action plan for media in 2018, and this week we're going to be talking about talent. Let's try again.
See
So
how,
each week we're looking
see how
into-
slick this operation is?